It's been a week, but we're back on it. I just got the motor. Yes, I'm sick again. This is just fabulous, by the way. Super. Got the motor at TDC. I'm pretty sure my injection pump is good to go. We'll find out later, but the main goal for today is to do some basic stuff. I want to get the cylinder head on and torqued, get the side cover. I want to get the injection pump on, the accessory pumps, and all that good stuff. So that's where we're going now. That's what we're going to be doing. I've already blown out all the cylinders and all the bolt holes. You know, and this is why Cummins stuff lasts for a while. You've got a head sealing here, 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 and here. And here and here. These big guys, they're coolant passages. Okay, this is a push rod hole. That's an oil gallery. There's another one. So generally the bigger holes are coolant, the smaller ones are oil. But this has been decked by a machinist, and I'm happy with it. So yeah, join me. I'm probably gonna just do a time lapse. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Actually, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the side cover on. My engine was in an industrial application, so it had a remote fuel filter, and I had custom built my own tappet cover like this, where I basically eliminated this whole thing because I wanted to use the fuel filter spin on that's on the head. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I went and spent the $70, got a new tappet cover that's designed for just the regular 4BT, so I still have some crankcase breathing here, and the fuel filter will fit. This is pretty self-explanatory. You basically just bolt it on and move on with life. There's little bushings that go on the outside here, but the bolt goes in, and those four, and it's pretty simple. So, yep. This is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just running around trying to find the 4 bolts and bushings. I've got parts just strewn about everywhere for this thing, but I eventually find them, clean them up, and get them installed and torqued. And guess what the torque spec is? That's right, 18 foot-pounds. Click, 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 click. Alright, now I'm just going to put the fuel pump on. 10 mil bolts, 18 foot-pounds. Shocker. My gasket setup was good. This is a new pump, so I'm happy. I'm going to go a little past. Couldn't hurt. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the head gasket, throw it on, and get the head on here. And you can join me for that. Alright, so here we got the head gasket. Again, mine came from Interstate McBee. It appears to be good quality. Some of these do not have this little dab of RTV in the corners. I haven't ever had a head gasket issue, but of course I'm not running 1,000,000 pounds of boost either. But I think the important thing is, if you want to know the gasket number, there it is. But the fact that it labels the top and where you're supposed to go is pretty manifestly obvious. And there's no way to get this wrong. Well, I imagine there is if you're skilled enough, but It's pretty clear that that just sits on top right there. All the holes line up, and it's as simple as that. So it's interesting is I wonder what happened to my dowels. Actually, I don't even think I ever had dowels, to be honest. So you're gonna get to watch me struggle lifting this thing up and putting the head on, but I'll get it done. Ain't too worried about it. So here I am thinking about throwing that cylinder head on there, and then I realize, man, it is easy to bugger up a head gasket if you don't get it right on the first go. So what I decided to do is go get some old bolts, cut the heads off, and use those as my alignment pins. I'll describe them a little bit more in the next video clip here, but that's why you're just staring at the engine as I'm off making those things. Yep. So what I've done is I've cut off the head of some spare bolts I had. This uses alignment dowels, and if you look, you go down the hole, there's a decent amount of wiggle room on this whole contraption. So my thought process is just use those as alignment dowels, and I can back those out by hand. It'll be good to go from there. So it's heavy. I think the head, this is a brand new head I bought. I ran it for like 3 minutes and discovered that I had the problem with my wrist pin over here. But I left the exhaust manifold on. I drilled and welded in my bung a while ago. I've got a new gasket for this. But yeah, let's get this started. Something interesting I noticed is on this motor, this remanufactured cylinder head, it came with exhaust springs that are the 60-pound springs that everyone talks about. So I found that very interesting. The intake is not, and I guess the theory is that the real problem with valves and why you need stiffer springs is that as the higher the boost and the more RPM, the exhaust valve sometimes cannot close completely. So the intake valve is not so important, it's the exhaust valve. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. So this is me just getting the cylinder head ready to torque down the bolts. So I'm dropping in the push rods. I'm setting up the pedestal mounts there. I'm getting the rockers backed off completely, and I'm just running the bolts down quickly so I can get going. Alright, so I've got all the bolts. I've got all the bolts snugged up. I have backed off all of the rockers so that they're not pressing down on anything. I've got these snugged up, and then so the idea is to do this. All the head bolts go to 66 foot-pounds, then all the long bolts go to 89 foot-pounds. Then you go back to the short bolts and get those back up to 66 foot-pounds, because remember, as you torque, these things kind of move around. Then it's 89 foot-pounds on all the longer bolts, and then after that it's 90 degrees everywhere. So that's what we're gonna do. So here's a time lapse of that. I'm having to use two different torque wrenches. My 3/8 drive goes up to 80 foot-pounds, so I'm using that for the 66 foot-pounds, and then I have to switch over to my 1/2-inch drive torque wrench to get to 89 foot-pounds. And then I just use a regular old breaker bar to do 90 degrees. Yeah, so it's really not too bad. Much easier to do it out of the car, that's for sure. There I go talking, and I wasn't recording. Ha ha ha. So, what I did was, as you saw in the time lapse, I got everything up to 66 foot-pounds with my 3/8 drive. Had to use an extension on these short guys, just as the way it goes. And then once I got everything up to 66 foot-pounds, the directions are on the longer bolts, which are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, total of 18 bolts. Those I just went from the inside out, got them up to 89 foot-pounds, and came back and looked at these, and that's 66 foot-pounds, and I got a little extra turn out of this one here and this one. So again, this is cast iron head, but you know, it does a little weebly wobbly. And then I went back over everything at 89 foot-pounds again, except for the short ones. And now we're ready to go to 90 degrees. Good. Everything's lined up. So the directions say 90 degrees. I've read somewhere some people go up to 90 degrees or 115 to 120 foot-pounds. So yeah, I'm just going to go 90 degrees on everything. So I'll get a breaker bar and just do it that way. I'm going to be painting the cylinder head anyway, so I'm not going to use paint markers. I'm not really worried about this. I'm not putting a ton of boost, just the pre-prescribed 30 pounds. We'll go from there. I'm going to pretend to be a torque wrench. Click, 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 mark, mark, click, click, mark, click, click, mark, mark, click, click, mark, click, 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 click. Bob's your uncle. Alright, so I didn't mark the 90 degree piece, but I did mark each one where I turned it 90 degrees. And as you can see, I didn't miss one. Good shape. So it's all torqued down. Head's good. So I'm going to start working on probably valve. Well, I gotta set the valve lash. I'm gonna wait to do that until I get the front cover on and the injection pump. So that's coming next, is injection pump. I did buy some new crank bolts, and those are in good shape. So yeah, let's do something easy. Get the water pump installed down here. Yeah, good one. All right, I got the water pump on, and then I've got the lower water neck installed. And I decided to use some copper anti-seize. My thought process is anything that hits water or potentially hits water, is going to rust a little bit. And the evidence of that for me is, I didn't show you guys, but these bolts, they had some rust on them, a little corrosion. And these are pretty new bolts. So I took them off, cleaned them up with the wire wheel, threw on a new amount of copper anti-seize, and just snugged them up. These don't have to be crazy tight. There's a brand new seal in there. But you can tell this water pump's dead silent, so it's in good shape. Yeah, so that's that. I think next, I'm wondering what I'm going to do. Think about it for a minute. I think I'm going to start adding some accessory stuff to the cylinder heads that I need to do, and just start working on this side of the motor. So yeah.